right. Well, let's move on to our featured speaker then. We have Dave Hooke with us today. He is, well, he does a lot of different things, but one thing I wanted to highlight, he is on pace this year for 350 transactions, on pace for a GCI of $3 million with a 33% profit margin. And I'm going to stop sharing here and turn it over to Dave. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Al. Thanks, Elizabeth, for having me on. I really appreciate you guys. And just kudos to you for a second. We do one of these trainings a week for the last 18 months, and it's on this particular topic, and just on anywhere from as small as 10 people to a couple hundred folks. And you guys are just an amazing group. I see a lot of engagement and just a lot of value. So love being a part of this, and honored to give the next 30 minutes or so to you. So we're going to talk about the database. We're going to talk about a 60-touch database system. I call it a blueprint. And I'm going to give you guys a copy of our 60-touch blueprint, which is the heart of our referral business. As Al said, I'm the owner or shareholder of about 7 businesses. Just a little bit about me. I got into real estate 20 years ago and built a brokerage, and then started a real estate sales business, and then a team. And the team started about 8 or 9 years ago. And I'll get into it in a minute, but I burnt out of real estate and decided it wasn't for me at one point. And I started to search around, and I came across the idea of a database touch program from the Red Book. And it literally saved my career. It was the first of many dominoes that helped me rebuild my life and my business. So there's 2 reasons we've been doing this training so much around the country. The first is because people say, how are you a shareholder? You haven't met with a client in 6 years, and your team's selling 300 some homes, and there's somebody else running it for you. Like, how does that work? And I always go back to this first domino, which is the heartbeat of our business, which is a database touch program, the way that we run it, which is maybe a little bit different than what you've heard before. The second reason we do it is because we have a guy named John who is the marketing director of our team, and he has a business where he helps people with this. So we want to share that with you as well. But for the next 30 minutes, I'm just going to come and be an open book and share some slides with you and give you a ton of value about our exact playbook that represents about half of our 350 or so transactions come from this one lead source. And you can take screenshots. You're going to get a copy of this recording, and you're welcome to follow up with me, no charge or anything, and I'll give you copies of anything that we do. It's all for you. So I'll share my screen here. And give me a thumbs up, Al, if you can see my screen. Elizabeth, thank you.
Yeah, you can see it.
Awesome. And just a bit of housekeeping. If there is anything in the chat, and you want to stop me or unmute yourself, you're welcome to do that. So as it says here, 60-touch blueprint is the heart of a big referral business. We're going to talk for about 5 minutes about my business journey, and then I'm going to stop and talk about why the database changed things so much for me. We have 20 lead sources in my sales business, and the database sort of dwarfs everything else that we do. And I want to explain in a way that you might not have heard before why it's so different. And then we're going to get tactical and go over how to run a database touch program. And that's where you can take some screenshots if you want. And then I'm going to give you a 26-page handbook that you can use for yourself to self-implement this. And then any questions, and I'll ask you to do a quick survey at the end to give us feedback on the training. So first things first, if you could just throw in the chat, I would love to hear, so I can dedicate the next 20 or 30 minutes to the right audience. Can you just put in the chat? I want to see how many people are agents. If you could just put agent, if you're a solo agent. I love my solo agents who are conquering the world all by themselves. Or if you are building a team, I'd love you to put in team. If you are on a team, you can put in agent as well. So building a team, write team. If you're on a team, you can write agent, or if you're a solo agent, write solo agent. Awesome. So a lot of solo agents. Perfect. All right. And if you could just give me in the chat, then we got a couple teams. Give me in the chat if you could, if you have a database and you touch in with your database consistently over the course of the year, at least 3 times a month, just put yes. I just want to see how many yeses. You have a database, you touch in consistently 3 times a month. Put yes. I got a no from Daniel. Appreciate the honesty, Randy. Got a couple yeses in there. Jose is a no. Okay, so a good mix. Perfect. So I'm going to do 2 trainings in one. So I'm going to cater to both people that answered. When I go through my story and then why the database, that's for everyone. And then I'm going to share my actual real estate team's playbook as to how they touch in with their database 60 times a year, 5 times a month, and the exact media that they use that has evolved over the last 10 years. And I'm going to show you copies of that. If you are building a team and you have a budget, you're going to love what's in there. If you are a solo agent or maybe don't have a budget as big as a big business, you're going to take some information from those slides. However, I want you to hold on because I have a 26-page playbook that our market centers that I'm an investor in and our real estate companies use for all of our new agents or solo agents who don't yet have a big expense budget to spend on deploying content. And they want to start touching their database and they're going from 0, I don't have a database, to a 33 touch. So I'm going to show you the 60 touch program my team does, exactly what it is. Take some notes on that. And then I'm going to give you a copy of a playbook to just go from 0 to something. And that's not going to cost you anything. And that playbook I wrote myself. And it's exactly what I did the year after I quit real estate that really supercharged my whole business. So I hope that makes sense for you guys. Thanks, Natalie. I appreciate the encouragement. So my business journey, as I mentioned, my grandfather was in the business in 1943. My dad in 1959. I started in 2002. And in the first couple years in the business, in the first year in the business, I sat and stared at my desk phone and I couldn't understand why it wouldn't ring. And I went in every day and it wouldn't ring and it wouldn't ring. And so I called my dad who had been in the business and I said, Dad, why won't the phone ring? I'm not sure this was such a good idea. And he said, well, you have to get out and talk to a lot of people about real estate in order to get the phone to ring. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, if you talk to enough people about real estate, they'll eventually, if you do what you say you're going to do, they'll know, like, and trust you. And then when they have life change happen to them, then you'll be the first agent that comes to their mind. And they'll give you a call to help them facilitate a transaction. I said, okay, that sounds easy enough. I said, how do I talk to a lot of people about real estate? And he gave me about 10 different options, anything from contacting expireds and FSBOs to open houses to going door to door and all the stuff that so many of you know already. So I picked door to door. And there I found myself at the age of 23, looking like I was 14, going door to door in 3 neighborhoods, Chapel Hill, Nottingham, and Meeting House Heights. They had about 180 homes each. And I would go up and knock on the door and I would introduce myself. And my dialogue sounded something like this. Hey, Al, because I had the tax record. I knew their names. Dave Hooke here. I'm not trying to sell you anything or convince you to buy or sell a home. I'm in real estate and I love this neighborhood. And I just like to be a free resource so I can learn and specialize in the neighborhood. So if you need a home value or to understand what the property up the street sold for, anything like that, real estate related, I'd love to be a resource for you, whether you're buying or selling or not. Is that okay? And they would say, sure. And then I'd have a meaningful conversation. Then I'd follow up with a handwritten thank you note the day after and take notes on the conversation. I did that for about 3 years, a couple hours a day, 2 to 3 days a week for 3 years. After 3 years, I built a database of 250 people and my phone started to really ring because I had a lot of people that knew, like, and trusted me. Now, I want to put that idea on the shelf for a second because I'm going to come back to it in about 3 or 4 slides. And we're going to do an exercise that is really impactful for people that spend the time to do it. So pause there for a second, fast forward. Real estate was a success for me. I was, top agent and in my 20s and all that kind of stuff. And this is me back then. You can see the camera. So I took the pictures. This is when you took the pictures of the homes with an actual camera. See some smiles. I had a hammer on my belt loop. It's when you, like, hit the sign with the 2x4 and into the ground. And I don't know what I was doing with that drill. I don't even know how to use a drill. So I had a drill, and I was prospecting based. Nothing wrong with that. That's how I started my journey. Every answer was work harder, not smarter. There was one day in my early 30s when I opened my phone bill and I had 90 sent and received calls in one day. And I started to burn out, and my health wasn't good. I was sleeping under my desk, I'm embarrassed to say. On the outside, everything looked really good. I was number one agent in the county and all this kind of stuff. But I went to the country of Haiti and spent some time with some folks in poverty and realized that they felt more fulfilled than what I did. And so I decided to quit. And this is a picture of a headache. If you've ever seen a picture of a headache, that's what one looks like. That's when I started getting migraines. And it was in 2012. I was 32 years old. And that's when my health wasn't so good. I was selling 12 million in sales and had a brokerage that I built. My profit in my sales business was 250,000. So doing well. I was working 60 hours a week in sales, more hours a week in brokerage and other things, for $83 an hour. I want you to remember that, $83 an hour, because we're going to come back to it in the exercise. And I didn't have any program that gave back to anyone. In fact, I was giving everything to my business, and my business wasn't giving anything back to me. So Al introduced me in the beginning. A couple years ago, our real estate team did about 3.1 million in GCI, 350 transactions. Last year, I think they did about 2.8 or 2.9 million in GCI, about 300 or so transactions. This year, it's pacing back to 350 or 360. But the key thing I want you to notice is the big change for me and my family and my life and my heart is the time hours spent in that business. So now I'm at about an hour and a half every 2 weeks that I meet with somebody that runs that business. So about $44,000 an hour. It's a really different business for me in just how it feeds my life. Last year, that business gave $100,000 away to a nonprofit that we have in our businesses to help people in financial crisis who my database knows. When we think about our database and all their friends and family who might have a medical condition or been laid off for a job, we start to think, how can we partner with our database to give to their friends and family anonymously? They'll never know where it came from. And that's a big part of our business. We'll talk about that in just a second. People say, well, what's the difference between the migraine and you fast forward to that business the last couple of years? And there's about 5 things that happen. And the first, by far and away, the most important domino was that I stumbled across the database touch program and went really, really deep on it. And I was interviewed by Gary Keller last year for a while so he could understand. He had me up at Mega Camp to talk more about it. And I want to share exactly what we stumbled upon that works so well for our database business so that maybe you can get some value and do the same thing for your business. So here, that's a little bit about my story. If you guys have, I hear second week in a row, we heard handwritten notes. Yeah, we still do some handwritten notes even to this day. So I want to stop here real quick. And if you guys could get your calculators out, just hold up your iPhones for me. Show me that some of you are able to do this exercise. I'd love for you to do this because I think that this is the exercise I wish I would have done when I was knocking on doors for the first 3 years for 2 hours a day. So the first reason the database changed my life is because of this concept of pre-built trust. So here's what I found when I knocked on Al's door and then I followed up with a handwritten note. And then I came back and showed up a month later and knocked on his door and he talked to me a little more and I followed up. And I finally had enough notes and conversations with Al. And I did that with 250 people over 3 years to the point where I could honestly say if I saw them in the grocery store, we'd stop and say hi. We considered those our Mets. And for the most part, I think they knew me, liked me, trust me. It took me, what I learned is an average of about 5 hours a human. So if you want to write that down, 5 hours a person to interact with them to build know, like, and trust on average. If you think about when you receive a Zillow lead or an OpCity lead or a pay-per-click lead, or even something at an open house, or when I go door to door, I'm at my starting point is I got to go on an average of about a 5 hour journey of interaction till I get to a full Met who knows, likes, and trusts me. who, if they have a life change, I'll be the first agent that comes to their mind. And my aha was after 10 years of in the business of working, prospecting and harder and harder and harder, and then burning out, was that I did a little bit of an exercise. So if you guys could with me on your calculator, just type in 250 people times 5 hours and type in the chat the answer if you could. So it took me 250 people at 5 hours a person to earn know, like, and trust, where they would refer me and think of me if they had a life change. Thanks, Heidi. That's right, 1250. Now, if you could just multiply that times, does anybody remember my hourly rate back then was $83 an hour? So yep, multiply that times 83, so 1,250 hours spent times 83. Put the answer to that in the chat if you would. 103,750. That's right, Anna. That's right, Phyllis. Perfect, Deb. So I just want you to slow down. You can take a screenshot of this next one if you want. At the top here, you see cold relationships, 5 hours a person. For me to interact with them cold to generate 250 METs takes 1,250 hours at $83 an hour. I spent over those years $103,750. And that's awesome. I feel like that work was well spent, but here was my aha. Over the 20 years before that, I had already interacted with my friends and family, my parents' friends and family, my parents' coworkers, the people I invited to my wedding. I started typing in A, B, C into my Gmail server, into my email, and all these names come up. Started highlighting. I've already interacted with these people for 5 hours and did what I said. They already think I'm a good guy, and I started highlighting them. I went through my mobile phone, and I had 2,600 contacts. Started highlighting the ones that I would recognize if I saw them in the grocery store. I started going through my Facebook friends, and I was surprised that only about 10% of them, of the 4,000 I have, 400 of them or so, I actually felt I knew, like, and trusted. And I documented them all. And I realized that process took me about 10 hours. Now, it was unsexy, unattractive work. It was monotonous. Like, nobody wants to go through and highlight and do that. But if you go down here, so to take 10 hours in a time block, to just find 250 people that I already knew, like, and trusted at $83 an hour, it was $830 of time. And the aha for me was that so many of people in our team and in our brokerages were doing great lead generating activities that we support, like knocking on doors for 3 years. But they were skipping over the $103,000 that they already did the work over the last 20 years to build know, like, and trust with a group of 200, 300, 400 people who, if we just took the 10 hours to document, we could capitalize on the $100,000 right now instead of flushing it down the toilet and just letting all of that time spent go. And so that was the big aha for me, was that we already have that huge asset. And we're going to go over an exercise at the end that I'm going to give you. If you're new to the area, you're new to your market, that's okay. We have an exercise to get you to 150 contacts in about 3 hour time block. So you can still participate in this, even if you don't know of anybody in your community right now. So that's what pre-built trust is. And the value of pre-built trust to everybody on this call is probably anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 to just take a time block and document know, like, and trust. Now, the database has the highest return on investment, return on energy of any of our 21 lead sources in our business. And it's because all of those people, as long as we touch in with them and earn their mind share with good collateral that we're sending them, then they'll think of us. 76% of people call the first agent that comes to their mind when they have a life change. So if we've documented them and we're touching in with them, we're going to start to get referrals from that group of people because we've already spent the 5 hours per person earning their trust. So huge ROI and ROE. And then in our business, the math works. So very predictable lead source for our business. For every 10 people we have in our database on this touch program, one of them will go to closing this year. So if we want to sell an extra 50 houses next year, we just need to add 500 METs. to our 60 touch program and touch in with them 5 times a month. And we'll sell an extra 50 houses next year. And you can do the same math for your business. The last one is when you have this at the core of your business, we're going to show you how in a minute, it amplifies any other lead source you add on it. Most of the highest producing businesses in the country in real estate have less than 4 main lead sources. And most of them, 80% of their business is done on 2 lead sources. That's true for our business as well. We have 3 main lead sources. Half of our business is from this touch program. Now that we have it running, any lead source that we put around it in the community is amplified exponentially, and you'll see how. All right, so I'm going to go into. We already talked about this. I just want to show you a couple lead sources. People always ask what lead sources you have. We have 21. These are just a few. Be careful with this because the return on investment differs in every market. But these are a few we have. We've shut down UpCity in our market. It just wasn't working for us. We still do a little bit of paid leads. Expired FSBOs was every dollar we spent, we earned 13. And here you can see what we're talking about today. Our 60 touch database, for every dollar we spent, we earned $31. So you can see how much more valuable that lead source is compared to all of our other ones. So it's the one that we always want to start with before we add another lead source around it. And we talked about how it scales. So in that year, we had 1,800 people on our 60 touch program. We got about 1 in 10, so 175 sales were attributed to our touch program. And so that's 1 in 10 converted. And then we talked about how it amplifies other lead sources. So if you have social media, or we consult with a lot of teams and agents all over the country to do radio or outdoor advertising or other paid leads, here's the thing. When we get into their P&L, what we find is that many times they're not profitable on certain lead sources when they set up the appropriate attribution and call tracking and lead source coding. And when we go back to the basics and we help them implement or they self-implement a touch program to their database, and now 200, 300, 500, 1,000 people are starting to get really valuable collateral in different media types, which we'll show you in a moment, 3, 4, 5 times a month. And that's running for a year. Then if they decide they want to do paid leads in that zip code where that audience is already seeing their collateral, now their audience is going to go to home search in that zip code and they're already getting their collateral here. They're going to start seeing them over here as well. So it starts to amplify. We call this becoming omnipresent. If you do social media and you're looking at engagement, you do it cold versus we run a 60 touch program to an audience, make sure they're friended on your social media, and then copy that collateral into your social media. Now your 60 touch just became 100 touches through social media. And so we're becoming omnipresent. They're starting to see you in more places in the community. So it really is an amplifier of other lead sources. All right, so that's why the database is so different for our real estate team compared to other lead sources. Now I want to get into how to do it. So this is where if you guys want to take any screenshots, we're going to show you exactly the touches we do with our customers and clients. People generally like this section, so I'll try to go slow. There's 3 steps to running a database touch program, very simple. You build it. We talked about that. You feed it, and you communicate to it. So let's talk about each one. We have our agents time block 2 to 3 hours in the next 30 days. I'm going to give you an exhibit. It says use exhibit A. And that's going to help you get to a minimum of 150 contacts to start. And we have them go through their mobile phone list. Could you guys do me a favor? I just want to see, I always do this exercise. Go into your mobile phones for me. Make sure you guys are awake. Hit your contacts button at the bottom and then hit lists at the top. And I'd love you to type in the chat. You can see mine says 3,400, whether it's 20 or 2,000 or 20,000. Write in how many contacts you guys have in your mobile phone, just your normal cell phone, not even in a spreadsheet. I'd love to see 3,275. Thanks, Jose. 983, 1,342, 760, Awesome. Yep. I love it, Alyssa. Appreciate the honesty. 304. Great. So what we found is that as you go through those in a time block, you're going to find 10, 20, 30% of those that you're like, yeah, I know exactly who that person is. They're local. I would recognize them, but I wouldn't have thought of them if somebody challenged me to think of them. Social media, go through your friends, highlight them, names stored in your email, and things like that. Then you're going to mark the ones that are Mets and would know, like, and trust you. And then here's the hard part. So it takes 2 to 3 hours to go through those lists and highlight the people that you're met. Then it takes another 5 or 6 hours to get to a total of 10 to research their contact information. This is the part nobody wants to do. This is the part when you decide you're not going to do it. I want you to go back to the exercise, and I want you to multiply 5 hours a person times 250 people cold at $80 an hour and come up with $103,000. And I want you to decide if the next 6 hours of finding their contact information is worth $100,000. And hopefully you'll make the right decision and you won't wait 10 years and burn out like I did. And then if you have a CRM, you can load them into that and tag them Inner Circle or SOI or 60 Touch or whatever is appropriate for you. Then you're going to create a time block once per month on the last day of your month and put it on reoccurring, and just title that appointment with yourself contact management, if you would. Pick a number. I would start with 4 and just write in the notes, add 4 contacts, 4 Mets to the database. And that's going to challenge you at the end of each month to think about 4 people, new people that you met that month. That's 1 a week, or people you closed with, clients that you'll add to the Touch program. So in a year, you will add close to 50, 48, 52. And at a 1 in 10 conversion, that'll make sure that you sell an extra 5 houses the following year. If all you do is 1 a week, which is definitely doable. All right. Tactically, these are where you might take a screenshot or 2. You'll get this recording afterwards. Took many years to develop. We started with the MREA, the Red Book, and evaluate and track what was working and not working. And fast forward a decade later, and this is our team's Touch program that accounts for 1 in 10 convert, and half of our business is attributed to. And it's very intentional. I'm going to show you pictures of these pieces. Intentional why we do these. And I just want to stop and dot this I. What we found is that a lot of agents and teams are not using direct mail anymore. They're also not using client events. They've gone wholly digital. No problem. Great idea. We have a ton of digital marketing to our database. But here's the thing. Email has gotten more and more redundant, and unsubscribe rates are higher and higher. And so what you find is that if you send only email to your database, a certain percentage won't read it. It'll go to junk mail or they're unsubscribed. And so if that's all you're doing, you're not touching your entire database. If all you do is direct mail, you're also not touching your entire database to the quality of a touch that you need to. If all you do is client events and you're contacting TCPA compliant to invite people phone to phone and text to text to events, you're not touching them the number of times you need to touch them. So when I say we do a 60 touch, we do 60 touches with a variety of media so that we can guarantee we're getting to 33 touches. It's not that every person in the database is getting 60 touches. Some of them are. It's that we need to know we're getting 33 touches. And when we do email only, so many of our people are not getting touched by our brand at all. And so the touch is worthless and the time spent on it is worthless. So we do 12 direct mail. I'm going to show them to you in a minute. 6 postcards, 6 newsletters. I'll show you why we do that. 4 items of value. So every quarter we send a promotional bulk mail item, which I'll show you what that is. It's a thicker packaged item that they always open. 36 emails, so 3 a month. We do a listings email, an educational video, and an all text. So 3 very different emails each month. 4 client events. And then we call our clients voice to voice, text to text to invite them to those events. That's how we get to our 60 touches. So here's an example of our newsletter. And couple things I would love for you to take note of that we've evolved in our newsletter. Now, I started with just a one-page newsletter. You can do a one-page newsletter. That's no problem. But you're going to see a couple things. The article in the front is from me. It's the one thing I still do. It's so important. I haven't met with a client, I haven't written an offer. I don't even have the access to our MLS anymore, but I still write this article to our database. It's that important. And here are the 3 rules when we give content to our database. We can't give generic content to our database. We can't do it. 3 things we need to do: relevant, personal, and local. If you don't remember anything else from this training, please write down when you communicate with your database, it needs to be relevant, personal, and local. Let me give you an example. This one says, what is happening in the Cumberland County real estate market? That is relevant to them, and it's very local. And it talks about the appreciation rates of homes in their actual county that they live. So what's happening to their homes? One of the probably most liked piece of content I sent out was in 2015. I used to have a fear of public speaking that I went to therapy for. I now love public speaking. And I wrote an article that said, why do I have a fear of public speaking? And I answered that question, why I was so scared of it. And the amount of text and calls and emails I got back from my database when I was willing to be personal with them dwarfs the responses on all of the other stuff. So relevant, personal, and or local, at least get 2 out of those 3 when you do content to your database. The results will be much richer and the engagement will be much higher than if you just do generic content to check the box. All right, next one is people thought postcards were outdated. So we do a handwritten note on all of our postcards, and you're going to find calls to action on all of our stuff. So this one says, happy spring season. The real estate market slowed down from November to January, but spring selling season is here. New client appointments went up in March, and many clients started their buying or selling process for 2023. If you need a free home value estimate or one of our guaranteed cash offers, call us at insert tracking number. You also see some sponsors up here at the top. You see them on this piece on the left. So these are small businesses in the community that pay us about $200 a month to make sure that all of our content is at no cost to us. And we have a brand ambassador menu that you can talk, there's a website you can go to and get a copy of that if you want to show you how to implement that with some sponsors in the area. Next one is our emails. So you'll see a hot listings email on the left. You'll see a video email in the center, and then a free download all text email on the right. The listing email drives people to our website and generally gets a high open and click rate. And the video email is my body language, and we're just answering a relevant question about real estate and sending that to our database. And the last one's going to give them an opportunity to get something for free that might be relevant to their home search or home sale process. I said we do 4 items of value per year. These are very simple. So you can see the one right here is Gary Keller's vision speech slides. So we take that right from Family Reunion. We print off those slides about the economic outlook, and we send that to our database in a package. You can see the second one is a referral directory, local businesses in the area. It's like a yellow pages. And then here's a calendar or a notepad, something that's going to be around their house, year round. 4 client events. So you're going to find we do 2 giveaways. They're right here on the left. And these are true giveaways. So you register and call in to win. And then a fall blast with food trucks for our database, and then a pumpkin pie giveaway. They're going to get a direct mail RSVP and then a phone call and a text from our team. Leading up to that, we're going to try to have a meaningful conversation with them. TCPA compliant, all permission-based marketing. Last couple things I want to touch on, and then I want to give you a gift that will take you from, that is not my team, but is if you're a agent starting out or you don't have a database, it'll help you get there with no cost. So I want to give that to you in a moment. So just a couple things we get is, how do I talk to my database? We have 6 dialogues that I wrote over my career. I'm going to give you a copy of those dialogues. And I have a couple questions in the chat. Let's grab those questions as soon. I'm almost going to wrap up, and we can grab those questions. And while I'm speaking here, I saw a question about cost per contact. John can probably get that for us while I'm talking here, and we'll get all these questions answered.
If you have a question, please raise your hand and please be on camera so it can be live and interactive.
Be great. All right, last couple of slides, and then we're all done. We'll go to questions. A lot of people ask us about our nonprofit. I've spoken a lot about that in the last 8 years in conferences. One of our favorite calls to our database, you guys, is a 16-word question. Who do you know in the community with a random urgent need that we can serve? And so 8 years ago, we had a closing. I came back from Haiti, and I decided I wanted to do ministry and live out my faith in our real estate practice. And so what's a way we can love on our database? So we took $50 from that closing, and we contacted our database to learn if they knew of anybody in trouble, and we gave $50 to that person. As the business grew, we just took a portion of the proceeds of each commission and put it in a separate checking account. And now we call our whole database of 2,000 people and ask them who they know in the community with a random urgent need we can serve. Now, the conversations, you guys, when your database knows that they're referring you business because you're taking great care of them. And when they refer you business, you're putting some money aside to love on people in need that they know in their neighborhoods and in their workplaces who are in financial crisis. It becomes a true partnership and a real circle, and it becomes the heartbeat of our organization. Really, it's changed our organization. Every team meeting, we're able to slow down and talk about the stories of lives that were saved, or people that were given a home, or people that were cared for, that were friends and family of our database. And so you don't have to be a big business to do this. I wasn't when I first started, but it's a real blessing to be able to call your database and ask them if they have any neighbors or friends or family in need. And then they fill out a little 8-question form, and we give them a check without our name on it. It's blank. They deliver it to their friend and family and just say a local faith-based business wanted to help you out. And then we ask them how that interaction went. And then we can share that in our team meetings. And it becomes more about serving people than just a transactional business for us. If anybody wants our 7-step ministry builder video, that's a free gift for you guys. You can just reach out. You can reach me on Facebook and we could get that, or put your email in the chat. And John is on here monitoring and he can send that out to you. Last thing, a lot of people at the end of these trainings do ask for additional resources. I'm going to give one to you in a second. If you have questions, we're an open book. There's also a business that does this for my business now, and John's on the call. He runs that. He does 2 or 3 strategy sessions a week. Usually there's someone on each call who says, can you just do this for me? Or can I learn what that looks like maybe a year down the road? Or can you just show me what to do next and don't charge me for that? And he will do all of that, no charge. Before we go to that website, I just wanted to give you this gift. And John, you can put a link in the chat. So this is for you guys. John's going to link it in the chat right now. This is what you can use for your own business if you don't have a budget. It has everything that I taught today, you guys. Everything in here. Build it, feed it, communicate with it. Shows you exactly what to do to build this. We have market centers that use this in their PC program for their first year of launch. We have teams that use this to train their agents. It has the action items, exactly what to do to build it. Then it shows you what to do to feed it. And it has that action item. And then it shows you how to communicate with it at 0 cost to get to 36 touches. And then it shows you the exact way to do the touches and where to get the content for your touches, the video emails, 4 phone calls, 4 pop-bys. And then it has the 4 handwritten notes. And then it has the action items for you guys to fill out to keep you on track. And then it has all my dialogues in here, exactly how to talk to your database, apology, quarterly follow-up, the home ownership dialogue, the ask for business dialogue, the expectations dialogue. There's all those dialogues for you. Shows you how to segment your database, defines the segments. And then it has that exhibit I told you that comes right from Keller Williams Bold. I'm seeing my Bold shirt on. And this will help you, if you don't know of anybody in your community, get to 100, 150 contacts. Last but not least, John will put it in here, but if you go to rootedbc.com, Rooted Business Consulting, rootedbc.com, if you just want, he does 2 or 3 of these a week. He doesn't need to charge you for this. If you just want, here's my database, what do I do next? He'll help you with that. If you want the done for you, more about the done for you product. He has agents and teams in 7 or 8 states that he does this for, and he does the 60 touch program for them. I think it's around $597 a month, and he does this all. So you can learn more about that by going to rootabc.com, and he'll take care of you there. And then lastly, if you would, I would just be a blessing if you could just hold your phones up, and there's a QR code there. It would mean so much to me. If you would just tell me what you enjoyed about the training and what we could do better. If it felt I was too arrogant in an area or talking about myself, or I went too slow or too fast. We've changed this training so much, and I want it to be a blessing to a lot of people. And so if you could give me some feedback on that, it would be great. And I will take any questions now. If you guys have any questions, you are welcome to unmute. I don't know if John, if there's anything you didn't answer in the chat, or Al, if there's anything that you saw.
Sure.
I had trouble keeping up.
I know Phyllis had a question.
Yes, I did. Thank you for this. This is very important, and I'm looking forward to the slides. But my question to you was, Dave, can you just share with us, the benefits of how this made you feel, just as a human being in terms of the person you've grown to be in spite of when you first started and to where you are today? Can you just share with us what that means to you, how it feels to you, and just the emotional benefits?
I appreciate the question, Phyllis, and I'd love to. When I was in my 20s, my identity was in my work. And so I was workaholic, progressaholic, fixaholic, growthaholic. And I was always comparing myself to others. I lived in a state of envy and comparison. And if I was going backwards compared to others, I felt depressed. And it just drove me to unhealthy levels because my identity was in the wrong thing. My faith is very important to me. So I'm a Christian background. Whatever your faith is, that's totally fine too. I respect that. But for me and my story, I sort of had a confrontation with God, and I went down the country of Haiti, and I really did feel like I had it all together on the outside up here. But my aha was when I was working with people in poverty. There was a little girl named Lovely who was 5 years old, and her family didn't know if they were going to eat that day. And they just had such community and such faith and such joy. And I just felt so empty. And I came back home and decided I was going to get out of this business. And I talked to a pastor and a couple close friends. And they said, I was going to start a homeless shelter. And they said, if you're going to start a homeless shelter, you may run into all the same problems that you have in your real estate business, all the same identity, workaholic issues. Instead of running from your vocation to find ministry, maybe you should work to find ministry in your vocation. And so I did a lot of soul searching. I went through some therapy about just where I placed my identity. And I found that if I could really give as a part of my work and start focusing on my identity around generosity and give of myself, and I'm always asking, am I giving today or am I getting today? How much am I giving? How much am I getting? And if I'm giving more, I just have a lot more joy. And so for me, it has totally changed a lot of those emotions, and it's freed me from a lot of bondage that I think that workaholism and the identity in the workplace had me wrapped up in. So that's where it's taken me, and I'm still a work in progress, still struggle with some of those tendencies sometimes, but the way that we do business with the database was just a domino, as I said, that led me in the right direction as to how to be. And kindness is underrated in business. And it's just really natural and easy to be kind, and instead of slick and clever. So kindness over being clever. And I think it can lead us to a lot of freedom. So thanks for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Do you have time for a few more questions, Dave?
Yeah, I'm all yours. You can shut me down whenever you guys need to go. I have plenty of time.
Kathy had a question. Kathy Warnett.
Hi, Dave. Thank you so much for sharing all of this and just for speaking these words, because I think for me, this year has been challenging, and the same drive of, oh no, am I not going to do better than last year has hit, and somehow that makes my worth, and it doesn't. So thank you for speaking to that. And on that, our family's been involved in an orphanage in Bolivia for probably 10 years. And we just made a list on Amazon of things that they need there. And I was thinking at first, do I share this list with my clients and see if anybody wants to purchase things? Or is that like asking too much of people who are financially struggling here right now?
Sure. It's a great question. So a couple things on that. We gave first. So we started to look at ourselves and what do I need to change in the way that I'm doing business? And I started to be generous, but I started to share about the generosity, not to self-promote. I've always, people around me know I'm probably too guarded. I don't want people to think that I'm doing this to get business, but just sharing stories. Like if our mission and we should all have a mission in the real estate business is whatever it is for you, it's to enrich lives for us. We talk about our mission in the collateral that we send to our database. And even when we invite them to client events, like we want to enrich your life, love to see you here. And so we always share ways, things that we're doing to live out our mission. So if your mission is to enrich lives like ours or something of that nature, you could certainly share about the fact that you're supporting this orphanage of belief and share stories about that. And I think what it's going to do is it's going to start to lead you to conversations. What it has done for us is now people call us to donate to Project Lamplight. And we've gotten a little bit more bold in some of our collateral. Like now we have a website, projectlamplight.org, where, it's on our newsletter. Go here if you want to, there's a donate button. So we never really have reached out to say a hard ask, do you want to donate to Project Lamplight? But we've shared our story and what it means to enrich lives by serving people in financial crisis. And in that share, we've started to build some collateral where they can go to participate in that journey. So I would encourage you to share your story. If it leads to those conversations where they want to participate, I would definitely go down that road. And I wouldn't hesitate to share how they can participate in the collateral that you're sending out.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you. I think Alyssa had about 5 different questions. Did you get them all answered, Alyssa?
Mine were answered. I'm good.
I think there was just one other unanswered, Elizabeth Castillo. I don't know if you don't want to unmute and ask, but she was asking for clarity about what you shared about sponsorship. I think that was when you were doing your postcards.
Yeah. So obviously talk to your broker and maybe an attorney in your state or wherever you are. For us, we stay out of the RESPA world. So we stay away from organizations that have anything to do with a real estate transaction. But we did get approved through our local council to talk to businesses that weren't affiliated. So we have a dentist, we have a financial advisor, we have a contractor, lawn care, different things like that. And we just have a little menu, and essentially there's bronze, gold, and platinum. And what I learned is that most small business operators don't have a marketing department. In fact, there were one man or woman show who is out doing the business of filling teeth or cutting hair or mowing lawns. But the last thing they have time for is any sort of database marketing. And they know that you're the head of the spear. Every time you have a transaction, on average, there's 15 other transactions around it that take place. And they would love to get in front of your database when they're buying or selling homes and not have to do any of the marketing. So if you're already doing this, what an easy and efficient way to go to 6 to 8 of great referral partners of yours and say, hey, can we do this together? I'm going to work on the administration of it. I'm going to be the voice that sends stuff out and makes it happen. But I'm going to put your logo and your business on everything. And we can sort of come at this and share the cost in it. So again, there's might be some laws and things that you want to pay attention to. But that's how we did it. We've had that program for, 5 years. We have 22 small businesses. We meet for lunch 3 times a year. They're on all my stuff and they love the program. And I think we earn $36,000, $3,000 a month or so to help us support our database touch program.
Great, thanks. Looks like Jade has a question. You can see she's driving though. Jade,
She's trying to unmute.
Waiting for Jade. One thing I wanted to say, I thought it was interesting when you said give you feedback and let us know any area where you're too arrogant. If there's anything I did not get out of your presentation was any arrogance at all. So I don't think you're going to be getting that feedback from anyone. I love as Sally pointed out, that is over clever. A lot of kindness is coming through for sure. Hi, Jade.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, Dave, I just want to thank you so much for sharing all of that amazing information. I just had a question about how you got from being a workaholic, to working 6 hours or whatever it is you do, so few hours. How did you transition to, you know, letting go and having all these businesses that are, I guess, being managed by you? Like, how was that process?
Great question. The first thing I had to do was add systems to my business. So you saw on the first slide, it was working harder all the time, not necessarily smarter. And the first system that I added was a systematic database touch program. And I was relying on pre-built trust and the 5 hours that I explained. And it was just a much easier business to manage because it didn't require so many hours of my time. And so my dollar per hour immediately went up and I had some free time. So that system came first. And then I looked at the rest of my business and I looked at other areas that systems like that could replace my time, and implemented 3 or 4 other systems. The way I run my meetings, we turned into a system. The contract to close process, we turned into a faster system. And all of a sudden I realized that because of those 3 or 4 systems, I was more profitable, I was better slept, I was more well, and I had more time in my week, and I was selling the same amount of real estate. And so then I was able to afford a different type of leverage than systems, which is people to help me. And so I was able to take and write a job description for contract to close, and somebody ran that system, and somebody ran the 60 touch process, and we wrote a job description for that. So first was systems, then it was people, as Gary Keller always says. There's nothing new there. And the last system was tracking. So being able to track all of our business really allows me, I think the biggest thing for control freaks like me, and maybe many of us, is that we don't want to let go because we believe we're the only person that can provide that level of customer service. And the reality is that they hire us for that level of customer service, that standard, not necessarily for us. And I think that's the thing I misunderstood. I thought I was really important. And man, was I ever wrong. If I can just replicate the level of customer service in the contract to close checklist, for example, that they have come to expect from me, and then track whether the customers are satisfied in how they're being treated, now I can assign somebody that job. And instead of getting in their business, I can walk away and every 2 weeks, look at the customer service rating and only have to have a conversation about anything if the customer service rating is suffering. So the last system is being able to track areas of my business that I care about so that I can let go of the vine, so to speak, let somebody else run the business, and then I just check in on the numbers that I'm tracking. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but that's how I was able to step out and be a shareholder of various businesses.
Thank you so much. That's so helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Thank you, Jade. Thank you, Dave. Do we have any more questions, Elizabeth?
Don't see any more in the chat.
Okay. Well, Dave, just wanted to thank you so much for this. This was super helpful. I don't know if you've been able to read the chat. The feedback has been absolutely amazing. Are you going to be sharing your slides, or will you send them to us so we can share them with everyone?
Yeah, John can definitely share our slideshow for you guys. He put a link to the 26-page lever in the chat, but he can send that as well. So Elizabeth, you can get anything that you need from John.
Thank you.
And guys, John is amazing. He runs all of the marketing on our team and lots of other teams across the country. So rootedbc.com. I just have to promote him because he's just an awesome guy. If you need a consult or anything, just click on that and he'd love to chat with you guys.
Sounds great.
All right. Thank you guys for having me on. It's been an honor. Appreciate you so much. Don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me on Facebook, and we're an open book. Would love to serve you in any way we can. I hope you have a great weekend, guys.
All right. Great. Bye, everybody. Thanks again so much.
Thanks so much.